The Red Bulls increased their soccer presence at Montclair State. That story is next on Carpe Diem. Hello and welcome to Carpe Diem. I'm Marc Rosenweig, Associate Professor in the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University. Major League Soccer's Red Bulls are not strangers to the MSU campus. This year they're bringing their Red Bulls 2 team of up-and-coming talent here for a season of excitement. Let's take a look.
The shot and puts it home.
What precision, what power, really making a statement.
The header's in and the crowd goes wild.
New York Red Bulls 2, they're the 2016 USL Cup final champions.
The Red Bulls 2 team competes in the United Soccer League and is a breeding ground for up-and-coming talent. Some former Red Bulls 2 players are already with the Red Bulls Major League Soccer team. And joining me to tell us more is Red Bulls 2 General Manager Shaun Oliver. Welcome to campus, but you're no stranger to campus because you and the Red Bulls have been involved with us for a long time. Right?
Yeah, it's been about 10 years now that we've been involved in some way, shape, or form with Montclair State University.
So tell us why you decided to move Red Bulls 2 here and what's the strategy?
You know, part of our program when we first started is that we wanted to have a bridge for our team to bring younger players up through the first team. We started 2 years ago with the New York Red Bulls 2 team, and you can see from the development of the players that it's done really well, but what we needed is a more intimate setting. They've been playing their games at Red Bull Arena, which is a world-class arena, we believe, but 25,000 seats is a bit too cavernous for what we were looking for. So the thought was we wanted to build a little more intimate setting where people can get to know the players before they become the superstars that we hope they become. And, you know, part of it was we were looking for an area where we could make a positive impact on the community. Our relationship with Montclair State over the last 10 years made it an ideal spot to land, and we're really hoping to bring the New York Red Bulls brand out into the community instead of asking the community to come to Red Bull Arena all the time.
So tell us about the enhancements to MSU Soccer Stadium, because that's part of this program.
All right, so what we did is that we put together a two-phase deal with Montclair State University, where in the first phase we were going to add 3,500 seats to their existing MSU soccer park, as well as a press box, camera towers, and do some ticket enhancements and some electrical enhancements. And the first phase is almost 100% completed. We're going to open up April 1st. The second phase involves locker rooms and adding a few more seats to the stadium to bring it up to 5,000 as part of our USL capacity that we're supposed to have.
So you're going to be reaching out to families and youngsters in the community as well as MSU students
we're going
to go to the games?
We're going to reach out to everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we wanted to do is, one, give the campus to have a good chance to come and see these players. We really think they're an exciting bunch to see. And then we've also set up deals with Montclair State University for student discounts and staff discounts, as well as the communities in the surrounding areas.
What is the schedule like? How many games and how does it work in that league?
Well, it's an ever-evolving league. Last year we ended up playing 14 home games. This year they added up 15 home games with the additional of a couple teams. So we'll play 15 games on the road, 15 at home. Last year we set records for points scored and wins, so we're pretty excited about where we're going.
Now your coach is returning, right? Your coach that coached the team?
Yeah, John's been with the organization in some way, shape, or form for a bunch of years now. You know, he's a great story, Fordham kid, Staten Island guy.
What's his last name?
John Walnick.
John Walnick, right.
And you know, he started out when he played for us. He's in our all-time best 11. Started out as an academy coach and then became our reserve team coach. And when we started this team, he became the obvious choice for head coach just because of his ties to the community.
Now you have quite a soccer background. You were telling me you played in college and so on, and you've been associated with the game since you were young, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I played growing up through high school. I played through college at Brandeis University in Massachusetts. My first job was with the New England Revolution, and that's when the league started back in I started in 1998 with the New England Revolution, 2 years after MLS started, and I haven't left since.
Tell us about this team, the Red Bulls 2, was created really as a way to develop young talent, right? Tell us about some of your success stories, because you've got, what, 3 or 4 players that have graduated to the MLS team and are really flourishing?
Yeah, so the history behind it is that we always were known for having this great academy team. We could develop players up to 18 years old, push them off to colleges, but from a professional standpoint, after developing them up to 18, it was hard to bridge that gap from about 18 to 21, where they become real full professionals. So in an effort to not lose those players, and as league rules changed, we wanted to get involved with the USL program to have those players who might not be ready exactly for first team action to get those 11, 14 spots that get major minutes all the time to continue their development. We wanted to create an atmosphere that allowed them to still develop as professionals and still keep them in our fold. So we have a couple players now that have really taken advantage of that situation. Sean Davis is a great story. He's from Homedale, New Jersey. And essentially we just traded our captain, Dax McCarty, who's been the bedrock of our team for 5 years, to allow Sean to develop more and play in our first 11.
Well, tell us a little more about Sean, about what position he plays, how his development has gone, and what his background is, and so on.
Sean from Homedale was a Duke University graduate. We signed him to a homegrown contract 2 years ago. But with our midfield, and we have U.S. national team players with Sasha Kleishen and Dax McCarty in front of him, he wasn't getting the chance to play as much as we had hoped. The USL team allowed him to stay in our system, learn our system, and play competitive matches. Sean is now, essentially going to become our starting central midfielder if everything goes to plan, and fill that spot, that big spot that we lost when Dax McCarty went to Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Another name is Tyler Adams. What can you tell us about Tyler Adams?
Hopefully this will be the very first time on TV that we talk about Tyler Adams, but he is projected to be a U.S. soccer star. Right now he's with the U.S. under-20 national team preparing for a World Cup this summer. He's a New York kid that we groomed through our academy for years, up, from the time he was 12 up until right now, where he's playing with us. He was the starting central midfielder for our USL team that, like I said earlier, broke many records for wins and points scored and goals scored in the league last year. And he's projected to be one of the next U.S. soccer superstars.
Is that the best path for you and the Red Bulls and MLS, to be able to develop your own homegrown talent rather than trying to find somebody around the world? Is that the trend now?
I think the philosophy, there's a million different ways to skin the cat, as they say. LA has a philosophy that, they've brought in a lot of foreign players, big name foreign players, and it's worked well for them. I think what we were looking to do is create a more sustainable model, that year after year we'd be able to produce players and produce a team that's competitive every year, as opposed to every now and then having to take a step back and reset because you're depending on foreign internationals to come in. So we believe that if we had the talent in the area is a very soccer-rich area, and kids are from here going to Division I schools, and we were losing them year after year to different teams just because of the way the draft looks. Now with the homegrown players and the USL team, we're able to take them from our academy all the way up through our first team and keep that model sustainable for years to come.
That way, too, you have players that the young kids can follow for many years and look up to, right?
Right.
When you bring in an international star, first of all, it costs a lot of money.
Right. And
second of all, they might only be here for a couple of years, right?
Exactly. And, usually those international stars, Toronto hit it big with Giovinco, who's in his mid to late 20s, but for the most part, they're a little on the tail end of their careers. So you only have them for a couple of years, and you're building your system around these players, and then when that player leaves, you have an empty system. So now what we were hoping to do is build a system from our academies through our USL team to our first team, so that these players, as they develop, when they get to the first team, it's the same thing that they've been doing since they were U14 players in playing in our academy in Hanover, New Jersey.
Let me ask you about a couple of other players. Dan Metzger is one, right?
Dan's a really interesting story because he was in our academy program. And when we tried to sign him originally to a homegrown contract, the numbers just didn't work out. And then he came back after going to D.C. for a bit, came back into our USL team and really proved himself to the point where now he is signed signed a first-team contract with our New York Red Bulls team. And he's a great story. Homedale, New Jersey. Him and Sean Davis are best friends too, so that always helps. But just a kid that really was the reason why we started the USL team, where he wasn't exactly ready to contribute minutes to our first team when he was at that point to sign the contract. But with that USL team, he was able to develop for another year and come back from an injury. And really become a part of the fabric of what the New York Red Bulls are, and that bridge year of what the USL team is providing us.
In what position does he play?
He is a defensive central midfielder, so apparently we're building our midfield out of Homedale, New Jersey kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. They can spell each other or back each other up. And Rafael Diaz is another name that's been mentioned, right?
Yeah, Rafa's from Rockaway, New Jersey. Went to St. John's University, and this area, athletic kid, goalkeeper. Really, we think he's going to be we've had Luis Robles start. I think he's up to 140 some odd straight games for our first team. So it's been hard for a goalkeeper to break in. So Rafa being on that roster is kind of that next step of bringing a younger goalkeeper in to learn from Luis while he's playing, and then hopefully he'll take over the reins once the goal's empty, we'll say.
What's your view of soccer in general in this country at this point? What are the pluses and minuses? It's still big in certain ways, but not in others. How do you, as somebody who's been involved in the game for so long, at what stage are we at right now?
It's funny. It depends who you ask. In my opinion, I grew up. I graduated college. There was a small league. When I started college, there was no professional league. We had just brought in the World Cup to the United States. Where it is from when I first started in the league, and the internal systems that have been put in place, and the facilities that are available, is second to none. The growth has been exponential. You talk to a few Europeans watching it, a foreign game, and they still think the game here hasn't progressed enough. But where it's going, the model's sustainable. You have solid ownership, and it really is something that's booming in this country. And everyone always falls back on, it's the most played youth sport that we have in this country, but those people aren't matriculating up into the professional ranks. But it's a young league. It's 20 years old. The sport is pretty new to this country, and I really think that in the next 10 to 15 years, it's really starting to take off.
It sounds like from the development you're doing with these young players on Red Bulls 2, that kind of feeds into that homegrown development, and that's really what you're looking for, right?
Right, and the model's changed in this country over the last 10 years, I would say, and a lot of that is due to Major League Soccer and the efforts that they're putting in. Don Garber, who's the
I was going to mention Don because he's another friend of our university.
Right, I believe he earned an honorary degree here last year and spoke at graduation.
Yes,
and
I
is
think he's a
Montclair
doctor now or something like that.
He keeps getting better and better, but Montclair resident too. But their efforts to help develop the game, it's kind of changed the landscape a little bit from you played youth soccer, hope you got recognized by a college coach. Hopefully in college you got recognized by the minimal amount of professional scouts that are in this area. Now with the academies and the way they're structured and their associations with USL teams to the first team, it's really given kids a path to become true professionals.
Well, speaking of that too, you were telling me that at Montclair State we have, was it a 6-week summer camp for kids?
Yeah, well,
soccer.
Yeah, so the Montclair State soccer program runs a youth soccer camp from ages 6 to I believe up to 8th grade. It's run by Rob Chesney and Todd and Pat from the soccer programs, and they do a good job of bringing kids just in this community to continue playing over the summer, where usually they might not get that opportunity. And our players will have some involvement with that, more from coming out and meeting the players, because we want to create that intimate atmosphere, so you have a one-on-one connection from being a kid to these players. So when you see them play on the field here, and then you see them play on the field at Red Bull Arena, hopefully it provides some inspiration for those kids to keep playing.
Well, hopefully too they could go to camp during the day here and go to your Red Bulls 2 game in the evening, right? Make a doubleheader.
Yeah, and hopefully get their parents to buy season tickets, and we'll be very happy.
Well, let's talk about the tickets for a second, because we're going to gradually put a URL on the screen for everybody to get more information. What can you tell us about that?
Well, right now we're just selling memberships to the team, which means a season ticket where you become an actual member of the New York Red Bulls 2 team. And with that, you get all of the home games that we're playing at Montclair State University, and I believe access to the 2 games that we're playing at Red Bull Arena as well. Our individual ticket sales and group ticket sales will go on sale on March 1st. And what I can tell you right now is that without giving away the pricing and stuff like that, because I don't have the right to, is that it's going to be a very affordable chance to go out. Unlike you going to Harrison sometimes where the tickets are $30 a piece, these tickets are going to be somewhere in the $5 to $10 range. Bring a family out for 4. There's going to be some concessions there at a pretty low price point. You can have a pretty nice night out, see some really good professional soccer, and not break your bank while you're doing it too.
Now that sounds good. And also at the end of the show, we'll put up the URL again, and I guess people can keep checking the website for as you add more information to it as well.
And the people in this community and the surrounding communities, there's also special discounts offered to Montclair State University staff and students, as well as discounts offered to the local communities that Montclair State has associations with.
What attracted you to soccer in the first place? You've been involved in it for how many years now on different levels?
I started playing when I was 4, a lot because my mom wanted us out of the house. I got an older brother who's about a year and a half older than me that has a slightly strong competitive streak, and it was one thing. He was a goalkeeper and I was a forward, so night after night we were playing in the backyard from the time we were little tots.
Shooting at his head, was that it?
And we ended up going to college together and have a great time there too. But it was just, the competitiveness of the game. There's so much to love about the game. And once you get to know it, the little nuances of the game of spacing and how a guy takes a ball down from 60 yards really makes the game blossom once you see it happen. So I just love playing, and it got all that energy out that I had, so my mom was very happy too.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Winchester, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. When it comes to explaining the game to people today, how can we do that in a better way? Because you watch games. You were just talking about the nuances, the different plays, the situations, and so on. And I think if kids and adults understood more of the strategy and so on, it would add to their enjoyment.
Right. I think the most helpful thing is that now you have club teams and semi-professional teams, and you have people my age, which one day I woke up and I was old, who have played the game since they were 3, and now I have 2 children that watch the game with me and ask me questions about what's going on during the game. So I think that's going to help the most, is just you have people who've been involved in the game for a longer amount of time now explaining it to the younger generation. The younger generation loves it, and quite frankly, the amount of soccer that's on TV now just nationally with ESPN and Fox and those groups bringing European matches and World Cup matches to you weekly, I think that's really going to help explain the game to children, and once they're able to understand it, that's really going to make it grow.
Well, what is the impact of the World Cup? I mean, isn't that the big selling point for a lot of people who maybe are fringe fans and suddenly they get excited about it every few years?
Well, in my opinion, I think it helps in this country. Just the media coverage of the World Cup. The women's team is obviously one of the best in the world. Continually, right now, I think they are the best in the world at number 1. But the men's team, they've been to the last 7 World Cups, which no other team in this region has done. And with that, the impact that it has, and the qualifying is really interesting now because they lost their first 2 qualifiers.
That was a bit of a shocker. Right?
So and with Bruce Arena taking over, a little old hat there, someone who once coached the New York Red Bulls and who we know, we think they're gonna do great. But the impact of the World Cup really is it helps bring the fans who might be interested in the game really into the fold, and really helps develop that pocket of people that you can have come to games.
What do you see for the future of the sport? I mean, you're on the inside. You see how things have developed over the years. What do you think we're going to see over the next 5 years? What are the trends?
I don't necessarily know if it's 5 years that you're really going to see anything different. It continually grows. So a great way to explain it is that when we first opened the stadium, which should have been our biggest year of season tickets, we had about 10,000 season tickets. Each year we've grown our season ticket base a little more and a little more and a little more. We're about 50% capacity of our 25,000 seat stadium is actually season ticket holders. So each year there's slow growth. And I think as there's more facilities built, Red Bull Arena, as we used to play at Giant Stadium, big cavernous for us as well. I think that slow growth is really going to help. So maybe not in the next 5 years, but the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see sold out stadiums across the nation with these MLS games, especially with the problems that football is going through right now with CTE and stuff like that, and baseball's a little slow for kids these days. I really think there's a niche for soccer to really grow and expand over the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, there's a question right now as to whether the NFL is overexposed. Do we need Thursday night games, things like that? But maybe that'll play to your advantage.
Yeah, growing up in Boston, I'm also a big New England Patriots fan. So
Don't
football's
say that too loudly in New Jersey.
right. Football's doing okay for me right now, but there is a niche for for where the sport's growing, and I think the people in charge of the sport, especially with Major League Soccer, have a good idea of how to keep growing it without putting anything in jeopardy, like leagues in the past have failed.
What do you do as a general manager? We hear these titles, the coach, the general manager, the president, and so on. Give everybody a little inside look at what you do every day.
For me, I hire good people and let them do their jobs. So I have some
good
great
management.
I have some great people. Our ticket sales department, our operations department, our multimedia department, and our PR department really are the guys that do all the work. I'm literally the one who shows up and answers your questions. But on a day-to-day basis, especially for a USL team, there's a lot of things that need to get done, and our first team's the focus for a majority of the New York Red Bulls organization, so the work that needs to get done. So I did a lot of work in making sure the contract got finalized for building the facilities here, making sure the construction project went on time, and putting our guys, that I had mentioned before, in a position to succeed so that they're developing as people, and they're getting a great chance at a career by starting with this USL team. Is
this a career path that you would recommend to some of our students that are both business and sports oriented? Is it worthwhile?
It's funny because when I started my career in 1998 in professional sports management majors weren't a thing. And now every year we get an influx of people graduating with sports management. I think it's a fantastic career, but it can be a grind at times. I started out as an equipment manager. Got promoted to team administrator, then worked in the operations department, so I was working every weekend, Saturdays, getting to work at 8 a.m., leaving work at 12 midnight. But if you have a passion for it, I can't see anybody doing anything else. It's every day I wake up and I'm pretty excited to go to work. There's new things every day that really excite us, and with the game growing, I think it's a great career. It just needs a little commitment and a lot of passion.
I think that our students and others need to understand that no matter what field it's in, you really have to pay your dues, right?
Right. And, the way we've hired in our department is that we really hire from within. We think it's important. So everybody that works in my department has been an intern for me at some point, and, I met them when they were college-age kids, and we've kind of tried to groom their path because they've made an impression on us when they were doing their internships and when they were doing their part-time work with us that really set them above the level that other kids were doing, and that's why we brought them into the fold.
And if a student was interested in internship, you have postings on your website? Is that the way you
We do, but part of the reason why we came here too is that, like I mentioned before, is we want to make a positive impact on the community, and part of that was being able to provide real job experience for Montclair State students. And we're working with the Montclair State Human Resources Department to make sure that those internships are available for those in the area.
That's fantastic. And we're also hoping to stream games online with some of our students getting experience in that too. And it's what your business is so multifaceted now that if a student has an interest in a different area, there are options, right, for them to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had Montclair students in each department that we've had, which is our training program. So students that are interested in coaching and developing the game, they've been involved. We had Sam Katz, who's a graduate last year, in our finance department. And so it's something that we want to make sure that there's a positive imprint for not just our team that's here and not just the soccer community, but all the students that are involved in Montclair State University.
Now there is, as of a year or two ago, a competitor started in this area in New York, another MLS team?
I think that's the blue team across the river you're talking about, NYCFC.
Yeah. How does that affect the dynamic, and is there a healthy rivalry growing that is good for the fans? What's your view of that?
My view is that it's been fantastic. The amount of media coverage that we got before, and now that with New York in the market and two rival, New York is red, New York is blue. Luckily, we've ended up on top most of those games so far.
But it's not a political statement.
It's not at all. Okay. I'm not. I won't get involved in that game.
Me neither. Yeah.
But with NYCFC coming in, the media coverage has been great. One of my best friends was one of the vice presidents over at NYCFC too. So it's been a great rivalry for me in general, especially because we've done very well on the field compared to how they've done. And it's two different philosophies and how we've built the organizations and which direction we're going. So it's really great for everybody in the area, I think, to see the two different ways to build a team.
And the Red Bulls, at least for now, get to play once in a while in Yankee Stadium too.
Yep. Occasionally we get to play in that stadium over in New York.
When you look at the sports business landscape today, what else do you see when you look at? I mean, I know you're focused on MLS and Red Bulls too, and so on, but I'm sure you're looking for best practices elsewhere and things that you can latch on to help your properties. What do you see in other sports that might be transported into the soccer business?
You know, soccer is a unique sport in general compared to, let's say, the other 4 major sports in the United States, where there's no natural breaks in the game. So, you know, what it seems the trend of what's going on is to concentrate on the fan experience and making that an individual experience as opposed to a mass experience for 50,000 people to come to a game and they have the same experience. Everything's trying to be a touch point. How do we make it better for the individual? Analytics, eye beacons, all that good stuff is making, when I come there to any sport, it's like Big Brother's watching me, knows what I'm buying, suggests what I should buy, and eventually I do buy it because I'm that guy. But I think, you know, how we concentrate on the fan experience for soccer is going to be the key to make this business grow. Just because if you get up out of your seat, takes 20 minutes to get your hot dog and your soda, and you get back there and you miss 1 or 2 goals, that could be it, because it's hard to score a goal in this game, which is an exciting part of it, but we want to make sure that fans aren't missing that. So I think technology is going to help, ability to watch on your mobile devices when you're at the stadium. We just implemented stadium-wide Wi-Fi at our stadium, so every guest that comes in will have access to a Wi-Fi network that works and doesn't get choked up with access points. And with that, we're hoping to push things to mobile platforms so a fan never misses a thing.
How are you using social media when it comes to the fans developing your business and so on? What trends are going on there for you and others?
You know, I think obviously social media and being a little part of I used to be the young guy in this game, and now I'm a bit older, so the social media thing's a bit interesting for me because it's not exactly a platform that I stay on. But obviously our organization is very heavily involved in Facebook. We did a game with Facebook Live last year, and also with Facebook 360, so that you could, you know, if you can go online and watch us against NYCFC last year, 4-1 victory, thanks. You know, there's a great goal with Bradley Wright Phillips scoring our 4th goal, and the 360, you can see it from every angle. And I think with Facebook, with Twitter, with Instagram, those are the 3 major, you know, from analytics studies, are the 3 major programs that are going out right now. I think those are going to help the game grow even more because there's just going to be more coverage through organic communication.
Well, we'll look forward to the game growing with Red Bulls 2 at Montclair State also.
Great.
And thanks for being with us, and we'll see you in the spring out on the soccer field.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us as well. For more information on this or any edition of Carpe Diem, contact us at carpediem@mail.montclair.edu or call 973-655-5158. I'm Marc Rosenweig. For all of us at Montclair State University, thanks for watching Carpe Diem.